Amid a raging Greenland storm, Trump questioned NATO's future and shook Europe's security assurances, prompting fresh anxiety among U.S. allies. On January 7th, Trump said on Truth Social that NATO cannot survive without the United States, casting doubt on the alliance's strength on its own. The president claimed Russia and China have zero fear of NATO without U.S. power, suggesting the alliance relies entirely on American military might. Trump added that he doubted NATO would defend America if Washington itself ever needed help, flipping the usual burden-sharing debate on its head. Trump wrote on Truth Social, and I quote, "Remember, for all of those big NATO fans, they were at 2% GDP, and most weren't paying their bills, until I came along. The USA was, foolishly, paying for them. I, respectfully, got them to 5% GDP, and they pay immediately. Everyone said that couldn't be done, but it could, because, beyond all else, they are all my friends. Without my involvement, Russia would have all of Ukraine right now. Remember, also, I single-handedly ended 8 wars, and Norway, a NATO member, foolishly chose not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize. But that doesn't matter. What does matter is that I saved millions of lives. Russia and China have zero fear of NATO without the United States, and I doubt NATO will be there for US if we really needed them. Everyone is lucky that I rebuilt our military in my first term, and continue to do so. We will always be there for NATO, even if they won't be there for us. The only nation that China and Russia fear and respect is a DJT rebuilt USA. Make America great again." Unquote. Trump's comments came as the White House floated options to acquire Greenland, reviving an idea that alarms many in Europe.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on January 7th that military force was not ruled out, a remark that intensified concerns inside NATO capitals.
There have also been reports that the U.S. could potentially buy Greenland as one potential option on the table. What would such an offer look like? Is there anything monetarily you could provide, any details there?
Well, that's something that's currently being actively discussed by the president and his national security team. And I would point out that the acquisition of Greenland by the United States is not a new idea. This is something that presidents dating back to the 1800s have said is advantageous for America's national security. The president has been very open and clear with all of you and with the world that he views it in the best interest of the United States to deter Russian and Chinese aggression in the Arctic region. And so that's why his team is currently talking about what a potential purchase would look like. Jackie.
Caroline, just following up on Greenland, why not rule out taking it by military force?
I know that past presidents and past leaders have often ruled things out. They've often been very open about ruling things in and basically broadcasting their foreign policy strategy to the rest of the world, not just to our allies, but most egregiously to our adversaries. That's not something this president does. All options are always on the table for President Trump as he examines what's in the best interests of the United States. But I will just say that the president's first option always has been diplomacy. Again, look at Venezuela. He tried ardently to strike a good deal with Nicolas Maduro, and he told him, "I will use the United States military and you will not like it if you don't take such a deal." And look at what happened. With respect to Iran, the president said the same thing, right? He tried to have serious interest in a deal with the Iranian regime with respect to their nuclear capabilities. They were not interested, and so Operation Midnight Hammer happened, which was another remarkable military success under the leadership of this commander-in-chief. So the president keeps his options open, but diplomacy is always the first.
Quickly, just one additional follow-up on that. Does the president recognize Denmark's ownership as part of the kingdom? Because there have been some Republican senators questioning, the claim that Denmark has to Greenland. Is the president in that camp with them, questioning the legality of
I have not heard him question it personally, but you're welcome to ask him yourself next time you have the chance.
Danes have repeatedly said they are willing to collaborate on all of the concerns that the president has, whether it's more troops, mineral rights, intelligence sharing. Why does the president feel he needs to own Greenland and not and put out the threat of military action when this could be done through diplomacy?
Well, who said diplomacy isn't taking place behind the scenes, Dasha? I mean, the president is interested in diplomacy. His national security team is as well. And of course, he's always willing to pick up the phone for everybody and hear out their concerns. But the president is the president of the United States of America, and he's always going to be very clear about what he views as being in our nation's best interest.
The statement sparked sharp concern across Europe and within NATO member states who worry about alliance credibility and cohesion. The Wall Street Journal reported that Marco Rubio told lawmakers Trump wants to buy Greenland, turning a strategic debate into a political flashpoint. On January 5th, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warned against any U.S. attack on a NATO nation in a thinly veiled reference to Greenland. Frederiksen said Trump's words on Greenland should be taken seriously and not dismissed as rhetoric, according to Bloomberg. Frederiksen said, and I quote, "If the U.S. attacks another NATO country militarily, everything stops. That includes NATO and the security built since World War II." Unquote. On January 6, key European leaders publicly backed Denmark and Greenland's right to decide their own future and status. France, the UK, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain, and Denmark issued a joint note affirming support for Copenhagen and Nuuk. Greenland belongs to its people, the European leaders said in their statement, rejecting any suggestion of forced acquisition. European allies also warned against threats that could fracture NATO unity, stressing that internal coercion would undermine deterrence. The row has exposed deepening strains inside NATO amid rising global power rivalries and growing questions over U.S. commitment.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.